Welcome to the first edition of the Home Studio Craft podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Tippens.
And today we're going to be discussing how to get started. We kind of agree that that's the most difficult challenge for anybody who's just starting off with a home studio recording is where do you start, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And for me, when I start a song, I usually write a song on acoustic guitar principally, and at that point in time, I'll get the lyrics together, the melody, the chords, all that stuff, and figure out the arrangement. Right? I mean, I don't know. With your experience, is that pretty much the process for you as well?
As a guitarist, that's how I start writing my songs.
Yeah.
My question would be like drummers, and I guess they need like a band and stuff, but
well, not all the time.
Yeah.
Because one of the drummer that I used to play with, my buddy Al, he's a songwriter, so he plays guitar. He actually used to have this little cool Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
that he used to write tunes on, and then he sang with it too. So he would do that, and that's back in the day. So that was on like a TAC, I think it was a TAC 4-track that he used to do that. So yeah, I think a lot of drummers.
You can start with the drums, like if that's your primary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always wondered like if a drummer's brain is like thinking like that, like in terms of like songwriting.
Yeah. I don't know. We have to ask the drummers.
Yeah, true. Okay.
So anyway, like starting out, it's just obviously you've got the song, you've written the song, and then what's the next step after that? I think the most important thing is to consider the arrangement of the song. Is it verse, bridge, chorus? Verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse. Instrumental break, or whatever, figure out what the basic arrangement's going to be. And then, record like a scratch track, right? Where it's either, you're just playing, keys and singing, or playing guitar and singing, and do that with a metronome. I actually like trying to put together a beat with a drum plug-in, something that a little more inspiring than just having a click track. How about you?
Yeah, I'll start with the most basic drum track when I'm, just getting my ideas to paper. I sometimes like the rhythm. I'll try not to change the rhythm based on the drum track, because it won't be permanent, obviously.
Yeah.
But, I prefer to do that as well.
Yeah. And it's just, it's a little more inspiring than hearing click, click.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so sterile. So, and then after that, once you get that scratch track in there, and then you can start to, what I like to do is I like to look at the melody and then work a drum track kind of around the melody, right? So you have your kick and snare work in conjunction with how the melody flows.
Okay.
And then, lay down like a basic groove on the verse, and then a basic groove on the chorus. And then after I have that, then I'll try to lock something in on the bass. Now, whether that's, using like a synth bass on the keyboard, or, using that Squier jazz bass over there to.
So how, tempo wise, how do you know really where to start? Obviously, if something's faster pace or slower pace,
right?
Where, what's your tips for finding the right tempo quickly?
That's a great question. That's. I mean, I think most people have a feel for how the song should flow as far as the timing of it. Just when you're creating the song itself, but. It's I try things a lot of times at different tempos to see what sounds better. Maybe if it's, I mean, sometimes 1 or 2 beats per minute can make a
Yeah,
difference.
no, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
And, it's also too, it's like if you've got a song and you record it and you go back and listen to it like a month later, it's like, man, it's kind of dragging.
Mm.
Right. And I've had that happen before. And it's like, do I want to go back and like re-record everything again?
Yes.
Right. But it's true. It's like, get that tempo right. So yeah, that's one of the critical decisions. So yeah, a lot of times it's just feel, and if it feels right, sounds right. So, and then play around with some different tempos and see how it works.
Okay.
And then after you've got the drum and bass groove. For me, I usually go back in and re-record like the guitar parts, and make those better than what the initial scratch track was. Or if the initial scratch track sounds good, I'll just leave it and then maybe add to it, maybe layer in some other guitar parts, especially with electric guitar.
Yeah.
And that actually brings up a good point too. So, like at the beginning of a song, if you're working on the beginning of a song, do you usually have an idea of like instrumentation, or?
It depends. If I've had the idea for a while and just haven't gotten around to recording it yet, well, me and my bandmate will have more of an idea of where it's going, obviously, if we've had it for longer. But
Right.
A lot of times, I'm recording just to not forget ideas and stuff.
Right.
When we're in this phase.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of times just I'm getting a riff and a rhythm down really quickly. That's maybe a chorus or an intro or something like that.
And when you do that, are you recording into your DAW, or are you like just using like voice memos on your phone or something?
So yeah, it depends if I'm at my computer. If I'm at my computer, I do my DAW, but yeah, a lot of times it is voice memos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that a lot too. Just voice because it's right there.
Yeah.
Right?
But then I stack them up and I'll forget about them.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, when I initially come up with a song, like sometimes I'll have an idea of what it should sound like. Right. And then I actually go to record it and it just sounds awful. It's just like not at all. Like I can't, like the sound image in my head sounded great, but when I try to convey that in the actual recording, it's just,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's everyone. Yeah. That's,
just try to go back and like rework it. And, that's, it's kind of like, it's like, what did Michelangelo say? It's like, the sculpture's inside that piece of marble just waiting to come out. That's kind of how I feel about like songs, right? They're there, but it's up to you to kind of, bring them out to really how they're supposed to sound.
Yeah. And that's where obviously the production comes in. Like you'll,
right.
hear, like you'll see an old clip of as they're making a song, and it'll sound like a completely different song before this one change comes in, and you can't imagine the song without that. So
did you ever see that those videos of Steely Dan recording Asia at all?
I haven't. No.
It's crazy. They would actually had the song, right, and they had the charts written for the songs, and they would have like a group of session musicians come in and play the song. And then they'd have an entirely different group of session musicians come in and play the same song. And so they had all these different versions of.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I wonder how much that cost them.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the day, it's like, yeah, they had big recording budgets.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Though.
Yeah. They were pretty extravagant.
So they had a bunch of different mixes of the same songs, like slightly different versions.
Yeah, like slightly different versions, or like bringing in different, session guitar players to do like a solo. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of cool too, because you could hear these guys are like top pros, and like they were recording, I think, some of the solos for Peg. And the guy who ended up doing the solo was a guy named Jay Graydon, but they had other guys try to do the solo too, and they were just, I wouldn't say they were flubbing it, but because you already have the version of the song in your head, you've already heard it so many times,
Yeah.
and these other guys would come in and just do this solo. It was just like, oh, just crap. It just, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it just did not sound fitting. And and Walter Becker and Donald Fagen were like, yeah, this guy was definitely like struggling, it just wasn't getting it. And then this other guy, Jay Graydon, comes in and just like kills it the first time. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Instrumentation.
Yeah. Knowing where you're going before you start, like if
like developing a solo.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can all relate to flubbing a few solos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about
Instrumentation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like, as far as like the instrumentation goes, sometimes like I'll have an idea in my head of what I want, and most times it comes out, pretty right, like as far as like the ideas, but it's always kind of like unveils itself as you're actually doing the recording process and the experimentation of what, maybe the sound will sound cool. That's what I find myself spending the most time on, is like finding cool synthesizer sounds.
Yeah.
You're right. And then just tweaking those and then making all those different sounds like work together. I really love doing that.
Yeah. You can get lost in some of those, wave tables and stuff, and
it takes hours. I mean, for me anyway. Sometimes you just happen upon a sound, because that can make a song.
Yeah.
Right. Like you come into the chorus with like a really cool synth patch. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
So, are there any like synth sounds in Ableton that you like stock, or are you like going mainly a bunch of plugins, like
I mean,
type stuff?
I like all the Ableton's synth stuff. Like I use Operator a lot, and then I've been using Arturia's got a really cool, I forget the actual name of the plugin, but they have a great synth plugin. It just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's got some really, really cool sounds. But I like a lot of like Ableton's like stock plugins and stuff. They're great.
Okay.
And I like to mix and match like different patches. Have them like just duplicate the part with like a couple different synth patches just to get the layers and the different sounds. So so as far as like the instrumentation goes, it kind of it starts out with like drums, bass, guitars, scratch vocal. And then it moves on to keyboards. We usually like to have like a piano part in there, maybe some electric piano, and then different synth patches. And you pretty much have all the other instruments in there. And then for me, it would be to go in, lay down the lead vocal tracks, and record a bunch of vocal tracks. When you're, because singing for me, at least, it's something new for me. I really never sang my own songs until about 8 years ago. So that was something that I just wanted to learn. It was always like a point of frustration. So it's not like you pick up a guitar or you're playing a keyboard. It's such a physical thing. You got to be feeling good, right? Well rested, not tired. And ready to sing. And then once you're in that space, at least for me anyway, I try to record a bunch of different vocal takes, and then just take those different ones, splice them up, and then make a compilation track from there.
So on like the final vocal, like let's say on the first verse of a song, is it, obviously each song has its own unique factors, but
Sure.
like, do you prefer like double tracking vocals no matter what on like verses, or
I
just
actually
depends?
usually never double track on a verse. Usually I'll do that on the choruses, just have a little more of a oomph, and then come in with like some harmonies, or at least do the double tracks just wide, so you get a nice wide stereo vocal mix. And then it depends on the song too. Like, I don't think I've ever really done a double track on a verse.
Okay.
But that's just me.
So like, best practice wise, like on verse, obviously there's no hard and fast rules, but like
Sure.
majority of like, is that like standard or is that like a personal preference thing on like the single,
Like
like
double
double
tracking.
tracking in general, like
It's yeah, I don't really think there's any like hard and fast rules, right?
yeah,
It's
sure,
like totally up to the, whoever the producer is, right?
yeah,
Who's working at it. But we're talking about home studio recording. So
yeah,
it's whatever you like, man. It's like if that sounds good to you,
yeah,
go for it.
okay,
So like just for me, I kind of like it just you know, I double tracking maybe is you know, yeah, I would just say for it's personal preference. Like
yeah,
there's no real
just gives
like
you more of like a true lead vocal sound, like
yeah.
without
Yeah.
that makes
I
sense.
mean, there's tons of tunes out there that are double tracked that were throughout the entire song, right? So it's not, it's super common,
Hmm.
but I'm just saying for myself. So I would just say whatever
Okay.
suits you, right? Whatever you like the most.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, then so after I've recorded a bunch of vocals, obviously then we make the comp track, and then usually just go ahead and print that. So with any effects on it or without any effects, use auto tune, right? So you print that with auto tune, and then come in, lay down the harmonies, whatever, if there's any harmonies, or like do the double track for the chorus vocals, and then that's pretty much it. Then just go in and do any like sweeteners you need to do, like any little cool guitar fills or little synth things to kind of make the song interesting, so that the first chorus is slightly different from the second
Yeah.
chorus and the third chorus, or what have you, and the same thing with the verses. So you're always keeping the listener engaged.
Yeah.
And for me, like one of the most fun parts of recording a song is coming up with a cool intro and a cool ending,
Yeah.
right? So like how to work on those two things, and then after that, we didn't talk about like where to record, right? So we're right now in my little home studio. But if you don't have a home studio, I think a really great place to record is in your bedroom.
Okay.
Because
And what about the bedroom makes it ideal?
well, you got a bed in there, right? So it's
Okay.
like helps to absorb sound. You got
Yeah.
pillows in there. You probably have curtains on your windows. Um, you've got a closet in there. So a closet is a great vocal booth, right? So you can just
Mm.
pop a mic stand in there, run a cable under the door if it's like if it's big enough, right?
Yeah.
Not all of them are, but even if it's not big enough, you can, those little, small doors, you can go ahead and just like open those doors and stick your mic in there. So you're kind of like singing into the clothes, right?
Mm.
Or you got the mic and then you got your clothes behind you. So yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. I didn't know
Have you
if that
really?
was, yeah, you'll see
Yeah.
people do that on, YouTube and stuff, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if that was,
Yeah, for sure.
wow.
So yeah, so if you don't have a dedicated space, obviously, time of day, right? So if you're recording vocals and you're using a condenser mic like we're speaking into now, these are super sensitive. So if somebody's using a jackhammer, if you're living in an apartment and
Yeah.
they're doing work on the street out front, it's probably not a good time to record vocals, right?
Mm.
So you got to take that into consideration. If you're not in a house, and you've got a guitar part that's, you really want to crank your amp, right? So you got to think about that. Like what time of day is going to be good for that,
What
if it's
about,
even possible, or use a plug-in, right?
yeah.
So those things as well.
What about like managing, I guess recording with headphones is the way to avoid all bleed over, I guess. But like, what about like managing any like what if you were, trying to keep it loud, maybe you're a little, I don't know, just cut
Like
this
keep
part
it.
out probably, but
That's all right.
basically like, cause I sometimes I'll like just like keep my things on my amp and mic are so far away. I'll at least on like my first couple tracks
Sure.
that maybe aren't my serious recordings. But
Right.
sometimes, I just like like I remember seeing Michael Jackson, like the takes from Michael Jackson's Beat It. Obviously that's the 80s.
Sure.
And there's like a lot of bleed over. I remember in the takes, and it's just and that was like a professional,
Well, they
thing, but
were,
that was a long time ago.
but they were recording live as a band in the studio.
I think so.
Yeah.
So that's like the only time, like you should always just, record with headphones to avoid, probably, right? Or
Well, I mean, it's, it depends, right? If you're,
it's just you. Let's say it's just you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna, yeah, you would definitely be using. I mean, you mean like headphones compared to like listening back on your monitors?
Yeah, like a little,
Yeah,
yeah, just avoiding.
yeah,
Sorry,
you don't
it's
want
a stupid. I was looking for like a side topic.
It's
for
all
it,
good.
but yeah,
We'll
it
cut
was a
this one
bad
out.
one. Yeah, that was
It's
a
all
bad one. It's like, what if you're being super lazy? And just
what if you don't
blasting-
want to get up and go over to your amp? Oh, I
Yeah,
hope
what if
I
you
hope my
don't-
mic wasn't too loud
Sorry.
there. No,
I
it's
was
me.
laughing
I was like,
myself.
look at my
But yeah,
It's going red.
Yeah, what if you don't want to plug your headphones in?
right, right. Yeah, so if you don't have a dedicated space to record, I would suggest the bedroom. That's probably one of the best rooms in the house that you can use. And also, too, is, if you're just getting started, you don't need a ton of equipment. You can use, not that I'm promoting any particular interface, but you can go out and buy, a 2-input Focusrite Scarlett interface. It comes with a free version of Ableton. Get yourself a mic. Get like a, Shure SM57, or, if you're recording vocals, I would definitely recommend you get like a budget, condenser microphone. And, if you're recording guitars, pick up an SM57 also, and you can use that to record guitars. And get yourself a set of decent headphones, and, maybe like a little USB keyboard. So you can do all this. You can get all that equipment for under $500, instead of get closed back headphones too. So because when you're tracking your vocals, you don't want the bleed coming from an open set of open back headphones. You can avoid that. And, so we're like, for $500, you can get in and start recording. Don't let money be, the block, the pain point that keeps you from starting to record.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. When I was starting out, that's something I thought was just, this is going to cost me, $5,000,
It can
or
definitely
something.
easily cost
it could,
that, right?
But yeah, it could. But yeah,
I have a buddy of mine. He just spent $30,000 on some Osberger monitors.
wow.
Just monitors.
Is he like a professional, or is he?
He is, he is definitely a professional audio engineer. So he's got a ton of gear.
Off.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a ton of gear, and so it's you can spend tons of money, right? But you know what? There's guys. The guy's name is slipping my mind now, but he literally recorded an album with his phone using GarageBand.
Wow.
And it sounded great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he got the performances. His guitar sounded really cool. It was good. I'll remember his name for the next podcast.
Well, like Jack
circle it
White uses those, crappy $100 like Amazon guitars and stuff. And like a $30 pedal.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely bother me though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate shitty guitars.
Yeah. He seems, he's taking it a little too far with that
But
one.
there was that video he did with Jimmy Page.
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
the Edge. You see that?
Yeah.
But he takes that like nails it into that piece of wood, and then just takes that piece of wire, and then he just hooks up that pickup and starts playing. It was awesome, and I love that like DIY, ethos where you just get out and just you don't need to go out and spend $3,000 on a Les Paul. They're like, this is my slide guitar.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Right. But
yeah. I see people, there's guys on YouTube who gig Squires,
Yeah, man.
around the country.
And they kill it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, don't let expensive gear be the pain point. All right. Well, I think that concludes the first episode of the Home Studio Craft podcast. You good, Tippens?
I'm good. I'm
All
good.
right. Thanks. Catch you next time.